Watch Dr. Drew's new show at 9 on HLN. Weeknights on HLN.
Joining us are two women who escaped the FLDS and what they say was a living hell. Alyssa Wall spent 18 years in an FLDS compound. She was forced by Warren Jeffs to marry her own cousin when she was just 14. She is the author of Stolen Innocence. I also have Flora Jessup, who fled the FLDS when she was 15. She has been an outspoken advocate for those who have managed to leave the FLDS. And Rebecca is on the phone. I spoke to her during the on-call segment. She is from California, back with us on the phone. Now, Alyssa, women are clearly treated in ways that are, should we say, unacceptable. What was your first memory of this?
My first memory as I look back on this would be the way my mother was treated, the way that she was treated really as a possession of the religion and my father, and the way that she was forced to treat her children. Really, that was my first memory. And then for me, my life experience of this went on to when I was married at 14 and forced into an abusive relationship.
So the relationship, not only was it abusive in that you were not of age to reasonably render consent, but it also was abusive beyond that?
Absolutely it was, yes. And a jury of our peers agreed with me in their conviction of Warren Jeffs of his accomplice to rape, my rape.
Well, let's listen to a tape of Alyssa testifying against Warren Jeffs. I believe she's talking about this 2007 case. Listen to this.
They turned to me and asked me, do I take Alan? And I just sat there with my head hanging.
Were you crying?
Yes.
What kind of tears were they?
Despair, fear.
Did you take Alan's hand like you were asked?
Yes.
Did you do it with or without assistance?
With assistance.
Who helped you?
Warren told me to take his hand.
Alyssa, it must be hard to listen to that.
It is, yes.
Yeah, and that ultimately was overturned, correct?
Yes, sadly it was overturned.
This is the thing. The reason I'm reporting on this case is for women generally, and certainly I hope my female viewers at home, women are powerless and so profoundly disempowered in this community. I literally can't sit by and just watch it. I'm a father. I have a daughter. I have a wife. I want to understand this. I want to get to the bottom of it, and I hope the viewers understand that's why we're trying to get our head around this and hearing more about this. Flora, yesterday you were very emotional. I believe it was when you had to listen to some of these tapes that are being played in court. How are you doing today?
I'm doing better. I wouldn't say great, but it is so extremely hard to listen to children being abused. You know, children are sacred ground, and when you have to listen to this and it's something that you lived through yourself, it's very, very hard to deal with. But we deal with it every day, because if we don't, it happens again and again and again to somebody else.
Let me ask you this, Flora. I'm wondering if this is why this has been so ignored. Is it because a large part of the victimization is of women? Do you find other women in the legislatures or in the... Alyssa, you have something to say to this? Are there other women who are in authority positions in the state? Yes, please, go ahead.
You know, it's more than that. It's the fact that when a victim does come out of one of these closed societies, as myself, as Alyssa, as Alyssa's sister Becky, as Carol and Jessup, as all of us, we are attacked not only by the culture, but a lot of times by outsiders that are sympathetic, and by the officials that are supposed to be helping us. And it wears on you. And, you know, a lot of people just look at you as a crazy ex-wife out for revenge. And so you get attacked. You get your character assassination. You know, everybody thinks that you're the bad guy because you're talking about the priesthood and the religion and all of that. And it has nothing to do with any of that. It has to do with what the abuses are.
And Alyssa, do you have a response to that?
I absolutely agree. That's been the most shocking experience about my life journey, and even coming out, it was devastating to come out of that religion and to go through the psychological change that I had to go through to adapt in society, and even coming forward and being a voice for the thousands of women that are there and even the men that are there. It was shocking to see how much of society does not want to accept that this is possible. They don't want to accept that religious freedoms are being used in this way.
Let me ask you this: what happened to your cousin and your former husband? Do you talk to him?
Oh,
Melissa?
absolutely not. He was actually charged with crimes himself, and recently this year he came to a plea bargain in southern Utah, in Washington County. Ultimately, his plea bargain, he got 30 days in jail.
And Alyssa, how did you finally come to awareness that you wanted to leave? I assume there's no electronic media. You're really not aware of the outside world. How did you have a sufficient awareness to want to get outside of what's such a closed system?
For me, that was a journey all of itself. I had to go through all the horrors of being in that abusive relationship, of watching the women around me, watching the men around me, watching the people around me be abused, and really it became a survival for me.